Prakash, I also want your thoughts on GE Shipping because we have the company joining us now, but I'll just invite you to listen into that conversation first. The company reported a good performance in Q4. The revenues were at a multi-quarter high. Margins improved sequentially. Their gross debt has also declined. GE Shivakumar, who is the Executive Director and CFO of GE Shipping, joins us now to talk about that. Mr. Shivakumar, after 3 consecutive quarters of a decline in revenues, you've finally seen a 3% year-on-year growth. Can you tell us how much was on account of firming up of rates and how much was on account of the volumes that you handled? And what is the expectation for FY25 in terms of growth?
Morning, Sonia. It's mostly to do with rates rather than the volumes that we handled. Our operating days haven't changed in any significant way. Our capacity remains more or less the same as it was in the previous quarters. So it's basically the rates which changed. So we saw the product tankers rates spiking in the Jan-March quarter. Crude tankers also did strongly. And that's really what led to the improved performance. And all of these disruptions, and the spike was probably caused by the disruption that you see in the Red Sea, which led to ships having to take the long route around Africa.
So what is the outlook, since you're saying that mostly the growth is to do with rates, right? What is the outlook on rates under the current geopolitical issues? And what is the impact that it has had on trade activity? If you can give us some numbers.
Yeah, so trade activity in terms of volumes moved hasn't really changed. What happens is that the ton miles change, so which means that you have to transport goods over longer distances, which means the demand for ships goes up. So that's what is happening. If these don't reverse, then you'll have the market continuing to remain tight. Again, that's on the miles aspect of the ton miles. The tons are dependent on macro and trade patterns. And macro, you will know better than we do what's happening on macro.
Hi, good morning, Mr. Shivakumar. Nigel on this side, and good to see you in. I wanted to focus on the offshore vertical. I recall many quarters ago, I was asking you about when does it turn around. Now it's turned around, and it's turned around in style. Now your rigs, they come up for renewal in the first half and the second half of the year. The current rates for rigs are anything around, $85,000 to $90,000. That compares with around the $50,000 of rentals, which GE's rigs are currently working at. So my question to you is, would that mean that we'll see a big improvement in the top line for the offshore vertical, and almost all of it flows down to the bottom line?
Last question first. If there's an improvement in rates, most of it will flow to the bottom line. Cost inflation is there, but that's very small compared to the price improvements that we are seeing. Just one thing, there has been a recent setback in the rig market. You would have seen Saudi Aramco's announcement that that they're going to scale back the target of 13 MBD that they had set for themselves, and back to 12 MBD, which was their earlier target. And after that, they have suspended contracts for 22 jackup rigs so far. There's a small change in sentiment internationally. Again, it's nothing to do with our market, but there's been a small change in sentiment internationally. We haven't seen lower pricings as a result of that. It's just a sentiment thing. We are still awaiting our contracts for our rigs. There are 2 tenders. There were 2 tenders under process. One of them has got cancelled in India, that is. These were 3-year contracts. So we are just seeing what options we have there.
Okay. All right. No, so I just want to focus a little bit more on this offshore vertical, though. Give and take everything that you're talking about. Sentiment has got a bit of a knockback, but rig rates are still much higher than what it was in the past quarter. On a quarterly basis, you're doing 95 crores of EBIT only from this segment. So that's likely to go up substantially, right? On a quarterly basis, if you want to give us a number for the year, last year offshore was around 1,100 crores with EBIT of around 160 crores. This year it's going to look much better, right? Give us a broad number just on this vertical.
Yeah, so the offshore business, broadly, your message is correct. Every pricing, and I mentioned this in the past, every pricing that we have, every repricing that we have, whenever some asset, whether it's a vessel or a rig, comes up for repricing, is getting priced at a higher rate than the previous contract. So if an offshore vessel was on contract at $5,500 a day, the repricing is happening between $9,000 and $11,000 a day. So we're talking between 50 and 100% increase in pricing. So your broad conclusion is correct that rates are increasing, profitability is improving significantly. I think it's bottomed out a couple of years ago. Last year, we were back to profitability, and I think that trajectory should continue. Again, always assuming that the rig contracts happen because rigs really are the big revenue contributors. And we have 2 rigs coming off contract this year. And assuming that they get recontracted, then that trajectory should continue.
Mr. Shivakumar, hi, morning. How many rigs do you have, and how many are operating at this 5,000, and how many will go to this 9,000, 10,000, which you said?
Oh, those are the vessels that we're talking about.
Yes.
So those are 19 vessels that we have. We have 12 vessels, 12 or 13 vessels, which are up for repricing in this year itself. And most of them are operating and 5,000 is just an example that I gave. Some of them are operating at those levels. But yes, we would get a pricing improvement of at least $3,000 to $4,000 a day on each contract repricing that happens.
Okay. These are the vessels repricing that you're talking about.
On the rigs, we operate 4 rigs. One of which has got repriced at a high rate, the rate similar to what Nigel mentioned earlier. And 2 of them are coming up for repricing in this year. So we'll wait and see what happens with those repricings. As I said, those are the big impacts really, because going from $45,000 to $80,000 is a big impact.
Okay. Mr. Shivakumar, what is the overall sort of company-wide FY25 top-line growth going to look like? I mean, if you can give us a broad sense right now. As we stand right now, of course, a lot could change, but what's your estimate?
So we don't make estimates ourselves. Even internally, we don't make estimates because, as I said, about 80% of our capacity is exposed to the spot market in shipping. And that's why we can't even make estimates because the spot market is extremely volatile. So we don't make those estimates. All we can say is the market looks like it's remaining firm at these levels. We don't see what's going to stop the strength in the market except for a macro event.
Okay, we'll leave it at that. Thank you so much for joining us and giving us a view on your business and the way forward.